One thing that I've been seeing a lot are the blossoms on my fruit trees. I have 3 peach trees, and as you can see, they're just about ready to flower. This is another one of my peach trees that has flowers that are just about ready to blossom. I've also found 1 crocus in bloom and many daffodils. This is a hazelnut bush. I guess these are the flowers that it makes before it produces nuts. And my plum tree has a few little flowers on it as well this year. My pear tree is covered with these buds, but I can't tell yet if they're flower buds or if they're leaf buds. Last year it produced a lot of pears, and sometimes when a fruit tree is young, or even when they're older, when they have a very heavy year of production or they make a lot of fruit, sometimes they don't produce fruit the next year. So I'm excited to see what happens with this tree. Last year was its first time ever making pears. This bush is called a flowering quince, and it's just a pretty plant or a pretty bush, but every year, as you can see, there are all these little red buds that are all over it, and it's one of the first things that blooms, and it's absolutely beautiful with its pink blooms. All of the leaves on my shrubs are starting to come out, which is very exciting. This is another type of daffodil. It's a double. And the reason it's called a double is because instead of having a single row of petals, it has multiple. These were actually on this property before I moved in, so I did not plant these. They've probably been here 100 years or so. When I was out exploring the other day, I found several of these on some of my shrubs in the front yard. They are actually praying mantid egg sacs. So if you like the insect, the praying mantis, and you see these in your yard, you can know that one day they'll hatch and they can have 100 to 300 babies come out of that egg sac. This particular bush, I've found at least 7 of these on it. And I think one of the reasons I have so many praying mantids is that every year I will release them here on my property. They're absolutely wonderful insects, and they kill and eat the bad insects that destroy our gardens. So if you have these, take good care of them because they will take care of you. This is another variety of daffodils. They're one of my favorites. I planted these several years ago, and they've really gotten thick. I'm hoping to one day maybe divide them up and put them in different places along the property. If you look really closely in your yards right now, you can find other types of flowers that you did not plant, but that just grow naturally. Another type of daffodil. And another daffodil with a more orange center. This is my gooseberry bush. It actually is starting to get all its little leaves, and soon it will make these tiny little flowers that will turn into these sour berries I like to cook with. My irises are starting to grow. These are actually one of my very favorite types of flowers. They remind me of my grandmother a lot because when I was a little girl, your age, she used to have these growing along the edge of her yard. And so I collected them and I have them planted all over my property, including one large giant bed full of different kinds. They're really pretty and they can come in so many different colors. This is actually one of my favorite places on my property. This is where I get my water from. If you remember when we talked about the water cycle, I told you that quite a bit of the water that rains down upon us sinks down into the ground and goes into underground storage places. When that happens, they often come out as a spring, and this is my spring that gives me my water. It's actually a cave back there. I haven't been brave enough to crawl back into that, but we are working on getting my water source up for my cabin, so soon I'll probably get to investigate. You might notice that there's a lot of moss on these rocks. I also see a lot of frogs down here in the spring, and so it's a really neat place to come and just sort of watch the water flow. We've had so much rain that the spring is flowing really nicely right now. Something really, really neat about this spring is that the water always flows. It never freezes. And because of that, there are certain little spots in the spring where you can find plant life living. And they'll be green all year round, even when everything else has died back. This is actually one of those spots that I really enjoy coming down and looking at. It's something called a microclimate, which means that even though the weather around it might not be very warm or even very cold, this one has sort of a temperature that it keeps. The water flowing around it actually helps it keep a certain temperature and just helps it survive in different temperatures. It's really kind of neat. And this is the view looking out from the stream. I really enjoy it over here. Everything looks so pretty. And right now it's just so green. It's been making me very excited for the upcoming season. I mean, things have started to warm up, and I know you are probably really excited about getting outside and playing, but check out all the green things around you. There's so much happening right now. We have so much color change. Just now while I was walking, I found this lichen. You often see a lichen attached to maybe a decaying or dying tree. Lichens actually help build our soil. They break things down and help create our soil on the planet. Did you know that these things that you find in your yards are actually wild onions? I don't know if I can get one out of here, but when you pull them out, oh, I broke it. Let's try a stronger one. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to pull it out without having a little shovel, but they have a little onion bulb on the bottom, and if you're touching them and you smell them, you can definitely smell onions. This is just another one of my favorite views in the yard. It's actually in the very back corner of the property I live on, and these are daffodils in front of this dead tree trunk. And someone else planted these daffodils before me, so they've been here for many, many years. But they're a different type than what I have. They're a little smaller and a little pale yellow. But I actually really like the way it all looks together. Back here in the corner, I have some more spring flowers. These are crocus, the purple ones there. And this is one of my blueberry bushes. I don't know if you can actually see those buds, but those will flower, and then when they're pollinated, they'll become little blueberries to eat.